photos.
Uh-huh.
People had to kind of live in the moment. You couldn't capture a funny joke. It would just go and it would live in your brain, and that was fine. That was okay.
I think it's crazy that we are actually just like the last generation to not have really grown up with cell phones commonly in the first world.
Yeah, it was, I think a lot of people around our age have the memory of like playing with their parents like um
Brick phones.
yeah, like brick phones and like PDAs and stuff like that, playing like Tetris or I don't know, Block Blaster or something.
Snake. I remember I would chew on the antenna for the house phone. That's what I would do when I was little, and that's probably why I hear voices in my head.
That would make sense. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rocket Division. This is going to be the Week 1 Division recap. I am your host, Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers, and joining me
Is Cabral, coach of the Hash-Slinging Age Slashers, and we've got quite a few matches for the first week. I'm very excited to talk about them because, one, we're finally into all the matches and stuff. It's been so long, and it's so fun. I love Double Dip, actually. I forgot how much fun it was just to get into this and get into the mindset and talk about the teams, but we had some really fun matches this week, and we had some brand new players come in that did really well for their first time matches.
Yeah, and I mean, we're both in high spirits because we both won, so that helps too.
You go check them out in the other divisions.
And go like, I forgot how much fun this is. Because I know there's a few people who are just like, I hate this, actually.
I forgot how much fun it was to win as I sit here and do my stretches.
I'll tell you, I forgot how much fun it was to win. My last season was not pretty.
And you're not there.
And I'm not there anymore. But, when you say that there were a lot of Week 1 matches, there were a lot of Week 1 matches. We had 16 in total on account of the 32 players. And they actually got done before Sunday even rolled around. Like, it was actually amazingly punctual. It was very fun to just see a pretty steady beat on matches all week. I mean, starting as early as Tuesday.
Yeah, that was really cool having a lot of the back-to-backs. And Saturday was full of, 6 matches or something like that? 5 matches on Saturday alone?
There were a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that makes sense because, a lot of the times they sort of clump up around the weekend because that's when people are most available. And people usually want as much time as possible to prep before their match actually rolls up. But
yeah,
we got everything done so fast. So thank you all for doing that. And thank you for being so good at Pokemon Showdown.
Yeah.
And speaking of being good at Pokemon Showdown, we have got 4 of those 16 matches in the Rocket Division, and we might as well get on with it. So I think I'm going to start by introducing the Hoensbroek Hunters, coached by Aurora, versus the Martian Mantines, coached by Black Captain. I was very musical there. I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. Maybe
losing it for a moment.
Maybe we should be a little musical today. We're not going to. So, on Black Captain's team, I actually like the lineup we see. Urshifu, terrifying. Toadscruel is a really good spinner. Ground Grass is one of those weird typings where you get killed by ice all the time. But everything else, you can hit backfire. You can hit back the other types with it, which is really fun. Arachnid is always a solid, stunning lead. We saw Milo's team run that entirely last season. I think almost every match was starting with that thing. Silvally can be anything and everything. Typhlosion Husui is a really good fire Pokemon. And then Rapidash is here.
True. I mean, Black Captain, I think, has probably one of the strongest drafts in the entire league, if I'm being honest. The combination of Urshifu, and it's not here, but Galarian Slowking is amazing. I think that was his second pickup. Terra Captain, Hisui, and Typhlosion is so good. Those are some very difficult to switch into eruptions. Coming off that thing. And Silvally also crazy good. Araquanid, one of the best webbers, and a very reliable lead. And like you say, Toadscruel, I wouldn't call it like a great spinner, but it's very respectable and very usable. It's got other stuff that it can also do. And even though its ability hinders it by quite a lot.
You don't like Mycelium Might? It's got 2 M's in it.
Anything that gets Spore, no matter how bad that Spore is going to be worth having in some regard. So
that's true.
Very strong draft. And then when you flip it over to Aurora, I think she also has a very strong draft, and obviously Naganadel is kind of a mouth-watering, like, whoa, pickup. But in general, I really like Cryogonal. I think, you see from Team Preview, it's Terra Fairy. which I think is very neat
Yeah.
and a pretty creative solution to Urshifu Single Strike, excuse me. Mega Mawile, Volbeat, Delphox, and of course you've got Zapdos. And it seems like the game plan here is pretty straightforward. You know, I would expect like an Araquanid lead. You're going to see maybe like a Zapdos, Volt switching out or some kind of
Could be Scarf or
anti-hazard
Shifu with
Scarf.
U-turn too.
Could be, there's a lot of things that it could be in either case. But, Black Captain has, I think, a lot of punch just right out the gate. And I think Aurora needs to sort of position around it a little more. Her heavy hitters are Naganadel, which appreciates being set up with like a nasty plot first, and Mega Mawile, which of course being a Mega needs to be evolved. You can't just switch it in and have it already be Mega Mawile. At some point you need to be in safely to do it. So I'm excited to see how this one goes. I think that this is, Aurora tends to have somewhat rocky week ones. I think that's kind of the case a lot of the time for like higher ranked players is, I don't know, the week one curse is real. And Aurora's no stranger to it. And Black Captain looking very threatening with this set of 6.
Yeah, and if anything as well, let's get started by the way. And if anything as well, there's always like some rust here. Hey, look, Terra Rock. Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That we talked about this to death in the note taking. I think she just probably didn't realize it was Terra Rock. Like I just, I think maybe what could have happened. Also,
that's so unfortunate.
Yeah, pause for a second because we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause that right now.
Just those first couple of turns. Basically, that lead, my best bet is that Aurora saw that, assumed it was going to maybe be Scarf Eruption or Specs Eruption. In either case, if it's Scarf, she tanks it fairly decently. Only takes, she takes about 75, so it's not great, but she can handle it. And then if it's Specs, she goes first and Volt switches on it, then obviously its Eruption is a lot less threatening to whatever comes in. So I think she was kind of tunnel visioning on that, if I had to guess, and got caught a little bit off guard by just the immediate Scarf Terra Blast Rock, which did so much damage, 94%.
Yeah. And we have no idea if that's a high roll, low roll. I don't know if we calc that actually.
I was looking at it. I mean, it's, it looked like a higher roll, but I don't know what the Zapdos set was. I don't know if it was running Spadef or not. I just know that, I think she was gunning for counterplaying Eruption lead, and I think she just got it wrong, basically.
Yeah. And then immediately the turn right after, we have Mawile come out to be Mega Mawile.
Yeah, this thing just obliterates it with a Sucker Punch. I think she knows he's expecting that, so she goes for the knock on the switch and immediately gets flame bodied.
Yeah. Rapidash may be here, but it does go faster than Mawile and does hit with a fire move, and also can just proc Flame Body.
That's true. Honestly, that was a smart play from Black Captain, and unfortunately for Aurora, just immediately pays such high dividends for him because now she's burnt, and this Sucker Punch is not going to be enough to kill Rapidash without taking a huge hit in the process.
Yeah, and with Zapdos being so low as well, and with Typhlosion Scarf, Zapdos cannot just safely come in to deal with certain things. Yep. And there goes Sucker Punch. So Punch-A-Bear is here to punch.
Yep. Now we've seen Naganadel in, and Black Captain has got a very chunky Toedscruel here. It is revealed to be very much Assault Vest Max.
Yep.
And
67 with a nasty plot is insane.
The problem is that's kind of a low roll, and that's also kind of a low roll. And I did run those calcs.
Yeah.
It was bad. I mean, even if she had, maybe like 160 special attack EVs or whatever, like that still should have done more damage most of the time than it did.
Not crazy.
So now Black Captain is at a huge advantage because Aurora's 2 heaviest hitters in Naganadel and Mega Mawile are gone.
Yeah, and I imagine Aurora here is looking for a freeze chance here with this Tailwind coming out, though. Mm-hmm. And it just takes us out at this point. And Aurora is just on a back foot. There's not much really she can do. Tailwind's going to help a little bit. Thankfully, we do lose Volbeat. I was at Illumise. Really quickly here, so this can come right and take advantage of Tailwind for a bit and then go out. And at this point,
it's unfortunately, Aurora just did not have the rock resists on her team. It's a hard thing to have. Most things don't resist rock. It's a pretty splashable offensive type, and Silvally benefits obviously with rock multi-attack being something that is fully accurate in a rock type move, which is again also a rarity. So Yeah, I think Aurora with some pretty poor fortune and just overall Black Captain with such a smothering draft that they're just, as soon as Aurora was operating at a disadvantage, it was very simple for him to move the pieces where they needed to be. And he took a very safe 4-0 victory over Aurora in week 1. And that is a pretty nice upset.
Yeah, and those are... It's something we have said before in previous drafts and stuff. Differential early on might not matter as much, but still getting above 3 differential usually in the early season is really nice and helpful for later on if you come up to bigger matches or opponents who you don't expect to do well against. If you secure early on differential, it can make such a difference for you towards the end when we get towards playoffs.
I mean, it's a game of inches and miles, you know. The differential you might find, and honestly, I often find that this is the case when we get to those later, 5, 6, 7 week matches. It's decided by 1 or 2 diff.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, a lot of people will wind up in that 2 to 5, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, 4 and 3 kind of bracket of win loss. And many times you will see that it all hinges on good diff, and especially, even in this case, I would say good tiebreaker, because the better the players you're beating, if Aurora happens to wind up in, kind of a tie situation or close to Black Captain, then suddenly he has that head-to-head advantage, and he will get preference over her for advancing the playoffs if that is the case. So this is an incredible value win for Black Captain, and this is pretty hard for Aurora. It's not the worst loss ever to take, and again, like I'm kind of expecting good things out of Black Captain. He made it to playoffs last season. This is again a very scary draft.
Yeah.
So I do think that Black Captain's kind of partying it up. Aurora, taking the loss maybe a little hard, but it's Aurora. Like, she'll bounce back. She's the top seed out of the division. She's been in playoffs every time for the last 6 years. I have faith that she will be fine.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing. And then I actually remember you're talking about the diff making a difference. What was it, 2 seasons ago? We had that 4-way, like, roughly tie to make it to playoffs. If someone won, then this person also had to lose. But if this person won and this person won, this other person could still technically make it in for the... Like, we had one of those conditions.
It was 5 people.
Was it 5 people?
Well, it was Mass, Doodle, Nick, Aurora, and
Firebolt.
Firebolt. Yeah. So there were 5 people that all could have gotten in or fallen out by week 7, which was like super exciting. And again, in those scenarios, not only do you want good diff, but you want those strong tiebreakers. So
yeah.
Excellent work from Black Captain. Very solidly played. That's very easy to choke, especially against Aurora, where if you just give her an opening, she'll go crazy with it.
Yeah. And it's week 1.
Very tough on Aurora, but yeah, she'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's week 1, and often I find people, I know that I still have rust sometimes coming off of off season. You and I haven't played a proper season in a little bit. But like, you still have rushing, you shake off, get back into practicing and thinking about how switch-ins like work and what you want to bring stuff in on or whatever. There's a level of mentality that goes into drafting and stuff like that. But before we get too nitty-gritty, can I introduce you to our next match?
I would love it if you did.
Well, of course. We have Nihilus of the Dallas Duckletts, and we also have Bananas of the Don't Drop That Dedennes, and they have really scary drafts already, actually, just looking at the team preview here.
Now, I find it important to give the storyline context of this, being that, Bananas was brought into this league by Nihilus, an IRL friend, longtime competitive sort of rival in various video games. And they had never played in Double Dip before. And when we randomized the scheduling for the division, because we already knew that they were going to be in the division together before we randomized the schedule, but when the schedule put them against each other in round 1, it was like, that's crazy. That's storybook. The only better place it could have been is week 7, I think.
Yeah.
That's super exciting, and they're both super good players. I was saying to you during note-taking that, like, Nihilus is somebody who is due a very deep run, because he's really, really good.
He's often made it to playoffs. He's kind of similar where I was. He didn't make it his first season, if I remember correctly. And I might be wrong on that, but basically he often always makes it to playoffs. I think one season he didn't, but basically, since he has been playing with us, he's basically made it to playoffs every single time. Bananas is usually a top 3 contender, I find.
He's only been here for a few seasons. He's been here less time than Nihilus has, but obviously he has the great honor of having won outright his very first season playing. You know, he dropped in for, I think it was season 6.
I think it was
that
6.
he won. And he won the entire season, I think, only dropping 1 match in Division Declare.
Yeah.
And then last season, he was poised to make a good run into playoffs and got stopped early by Milo, who, again, all due respect to Milo, who I love, got very cheesed out by Milo's round. So, I'm sure Bananas has a fire lit upon himself to do well. And certainly, I'm sure there's a friendly competitive rivalry where you want to, get a leg up on Nihilus early.
Yeah. Crazy. Someone just tried to call me on Discord. I had to go on Do Not Disturb. I got the ring to...
immediately. I flicked over to the X as soon as I saw it.
Oh, man. It looks like it was an accident.
So Nihilus got into playoffs in Season 6 and did not make it to playoffs in either 5 or 7, despite having very respectable records in both.
Yeah.
Nihilus got all the way to 2nd in Extra Cheesy, though, which I did not know.
Let's go. Extra Cheesy was a lot of fun. Their teams, though. We have Mega Kangaskhan, Vikavolt, Deoxys Defense, Blastoise, Golurk, and Cyclizar. There's a lot of bulk on that team.
Yeah, Nihilus, so obviously Cyclizar isn't exactly bulky,
No.
but it has Regenerator, so, I mean, Eldegoss is bulky when it has Regenerator, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it has Shed...
No,
it does not have Shed Tail. We have...
So it gets access to Shed Tail in the Learn set, but Shed Tail on Cyclizar only is banned.
Yes.
So everything else that has access to Shed Tail before ZA is allowed to use it, just not Cyclizar.
Yeah. And that's due in part, I imagine, to Regenerator being a thing with it.
Regenerator, and it's so fast, and it has that, ghost immunity that just, helps it get in, and, it can spin, and it's just so good at, pivoting, getting in, getting out, regenerating its HP, and sending out so many Shed Tails without much in the way of resistance, so... there's just nowhere. I mean, it's either basically you ban Cyclizar outright, or you let Cyclizar into the draft and make it so it can't use Shed Tail. And we preferred to have Cyclizar because even without Shed Tail, it fills some pretty interesting, niches.
Normal dragons are really fun typing. You are immune to all ghost stuff and everything. It's just neat. But on Bananas' team, being a Aegis Slasher myself, I do see Aegis Slash over here. Which is a really fun pickup. Gligar with Eviolite is stupid good. Rotom Fan is here. Chinchino, very good. Skill Link, all that stuff. And also I see Terra Grass over there for it. We also have Beware, which is running Fluffy, which is more defense and die to fire. And then we also have, of course, Iron Bundle over there.
Yeah, which Iron Bundle is you die to everything. It's just, Iron Bundle definitely loves its low accuracy moves, ideally. But, it does just, generally speaking, high damage Paradoxmon stuff. The same way that a lot of those future Paradoxmons. It almost plays similar to Iron Valiant in a way, but it's just a lot worse at doing stuff than Iron Valiant. But worse than Iron Valiant still makes you a 9-pointer. I mean, Bundle's really, really strong.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned Chinchino with the grass Terra type. Chinchino is a fantastic Terra captain. Rotom Fan also a pretty good Terra captain, I think.
Yeah.
And on Nihilus' side, man, the Terra captain Vikavolt, that thing does so much damage. And any Terra captain that has a combo built-in immunity from an ability, Storm Drain is a great candidate for a lot of Terra types, because then you could be I don't know, I'm now Mono Fairy with Storm Drain, and I have immunity to Dragon and Water.
Lightning Rod Water is really nice.
Yeah, Lightning Rod with Water, so you can do that with Rhydon, I know, is a Terra Captain, or at least I think it's a Terra Captain in another division.
It is, yeah.
But Vikavolt gets Levitate. So that Terra Fire, still weak to Water, still weak to Rock, but is not going to be weak to Ground, notably.
Yeah, which is really nice. But I think the only thing we can do at this point is kind of watch the match and talk about it.
Let's do it.
Chinchino starts, probably scouting.
That says bad luck and don't have fun. That's why I never thought that before.
Yeah, he does. Knockoff, great. Really nice on Nihilus' part to get rid of the Eviolite right away. And then this thing comes in, just get out of there. Aegis Slash is super bulky, hits really hard. Unless it doesn't do either of those things, then it does the opposite. You just got to catch in the right form at the right time.
It's just hard to catch it in the right form at the right time. Even after it got nerfed, it used to be, I think, 10 base points higher in its stats, but they changed that because it was ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
And
Yeesh,
this thing,
by the way,
without Eviolite,
62% is crazy. And then we get a 59% here. And again, Bananas at this point does not want to bring anything in to a flamethrower from this thing because it just kills it. 145 special attack, you're not surviving.
Yeah. And there's nothing that resists it on this team. But you see, even though it's not like specs or anything, that it's still doing so much damage with just like a straight up Terra Blast.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then again, just cycling around is what you're going to see a lot of this. Another U-turn. We're going to get a flip turn here from Blastoise in a second. Everything's just shifting around constantly. They're doing really good, both of these players, at just pivoting their Pokemon in when they need to.
Yeah. This is singles. This is Pokemon singles.
Yeah.
Doubles players looking at all this pivoting and going, what am I looking at?
Yeah. Dynamic Punch coming in. Defog, great, getting rid of the webs. Obviously, you do still have Vigavolt alive, but better get rid of them now than never.
Yeah, it's, obviously, just like the field control is important, both of them get up and also remove hazards multiple times throughout the course of the game. It's a pretty, it's not a crazy slow game, but they're both being very deliberate with what they bring in, what they get out. A lot of good doubles. I love that from Nihilus there to bait the Volt Switch. I mean, it didn't really move the needle that much, but it's still worth, popping another no-guard Dynamic Punch. Get more confusion,
Yeah, because, I mean, they don't hit each other really that hard, but that's okay. Nihilus isn't worried about that.
Yep, but they both leave at the same time.
Yep.
They're kind of in tune, it's a beautiful dance.
These best friends dancing with one another. That Drain Punch.
Why did that do so much damage?
Man. I think, if I remember correctly, Vigavolt does not have a lot of defense. I think it's like 55 or 60 defense.
I thought it was decent. I'd have to look it up.
I have to look it up as
I mean,
well.
you'll see here, Bullet Seed does get through it, and especially with that Terra Grass boost,
Yeah.
And Mega Kangaskhan. We didn't really talk about Mega Kangaskhan from the team preview, but this Pokemon's really good.
Yeah, because it hits twice, and the only thing it's not allowed to hit twice with is Seismic Toss, because that would do a 200 damage with one attack.
It more or less two-shots every Pokemon that's not a ghost, so,
yeah.
There's a reason why that's not allowed.
Twizzler comes in. I actually wanted to draft Deoxys defense because this thing just sits here. I mean, 37 Iron Head from, a stab Aegislash is insane.
Yeah, and again, that teleport's so good.
Yep.
You'll see it sort of come into play later, but access to pressure and recover and spikes and teleport, Deoxys is just so good, ironically, at putting on pressure.
Yeah, I'm just double checking something real quick. Oh no, it's 90 defense. My bad. It's 43 speed. That's what I'm thinking. It's 43 speed.
It is very slow.
Yeah.
Fun Colberberry, which I thought was interesting because it actually doesn't really move the needle that much on the Dark Pulse. I'm sure that's not what it was for. I imagine it was for knockoff.
Yeah.
From something else, but does come in, keeps it a little bit topped off, and this Aegislash, I mean, when it comes down to the end game, needs every percent that it can get. But like I say, I mean, they're really doing a good job of whittling each other down at this point. 32 turns deep. There's only been 4 kills, but a lot of low fellas.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is Nihilus is still at that kind of advantage of just, I can keep recovering, I can keep taking this chip, because anytime Bananas has to switch Pokemon, Spikes is there to just keep chipping and chipping and chipping away at his health.
Right, and Beware risks, taking a Psy Shock or, just having, frankly, its Darkest Laria PP run out by pressure. So, Deoxys is doing a very good job of keeping that pressure on.
Yeah.
And just, God, Chinchino does so much damage, man. It's such a good Terra Captain. I like it.
Very good Terra Captain. Tidea coming in and can do a little more damage, but just getting out of there because Wee is going to probably hurt.
Yeah, well, a big reveal there, which I think is funny, that actually Chinchino doesn't even have Tail Slap. It's just the only attacking moves it has are Bullet Seed and U-Turn.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Which is nice, I think, for the surprise factor. Yeah, I mean, it worked fine. I think there is, would have gone maybe marginally better if it had Tail Slap, but I don't know what you'd be able to safely get rid of.
Yeah, there's Hydro Pump coming in. Freeze Dry, that's just going to kill it. Especially with a crit, that's just going to kill this thing.
Especially with the crit, yeah. And I'm sure, on some level, Nihilus was fine with just kind of sacking it, trying to maybe U-turn, get the sub out of the way.
Yeah, Hydropump doing 36 roughly to the Twizzler, and this doing 23%. So,
yeah, this thing is still causing problems, especially because it's booster energy and not leftovers behind the sub. It's not going to be passively regenerating the health it needs to keep putting subs up. So Nihilus, or rather, I should say, Bananas is forced in this position to fish for a freeze against Nihilus. That's the optimal play, and he does acknowledge and go for it.
Yeah. I'm surprised at I don't remember the team makeup of Nihilus right now, but I'm surprised at the booster energy for speed over special attack, because you could, I think, adjust the stats to do special attack instead, right?
Probably. A lot of the time that is the case with the Future Paradox mons, although sometimes you have to finagle the special attack or the primary attacking stats so low to get speed higher that it kind of defangs it, or vice versa. Like you kind of have to, it's not just about raising stats, but sometimes about lowering stats, and maybe you don't want to lower the stats necessary to get the boost you want.
Yeah, and I don't know the exact stat. Well, hold on, I got my phone right here. I can look that up.
Well, Freeze Dry does not end up getting the freeze, and I'm sure he clicked it a pretty healthy amount of time. Psyshock taking out Pooh Bear, not able to get off that Darkest Lariat, so it's just Aegislash versus Deoxys defense. Bananas effectively conceding here on the GG, but Crit Shadow Sneak gives him a bit of a second lease on life, because it eats up an entire Recover's worth of HP by itself with a crit.
Yeah, I do like that the Pokemon Gun sprite has disappeared.
It did disappear, yeah.
Did not
this
do
is
that
the secret third form.
Oh, man. Yeah, another crit, by the way.
Crit.
So crazy.
So necessary. Those are doing such a good job of, again, pressure's on the other foot. And what's funny is, King Shield now to reduce incoming damage from Psyshock, and even with Deoxys's pressure ability, it's 48 PP on Shadow Sneak. Like, you are going to be able to keep throwing those out to your heart's content.
Yeah. And again, it's just like Banana's still playing to his outs here in the end game, doing well. These are both high-level players, and you can just tell with how this match was played overall. By the way, Iron Bundle has 136 speed, 124 special attack, so you could finagle that.
You could definitely finagle that, but, you'd be dropping your speed, probably.
Yeah,
and
I don't remember on Nihilus' team, though, that he won out speed with Iron Bundle.
Well, that's the question, right? Like, I'm sure, he considered it, but,
yeah.
Ultimately, Mega Kangaskhan comes out to finish the job, cleans up Aegislash, who manages to, honestly, just killing the Deoxys defense at the end was very nice, and Bananas keeping it close on that 1-0, but Nihilus pulling off what is technically, although not a huge upset, very much still an upset in this division, taking out Bananas, who is the number 2 seed in this division behind Aurora.
Yeah,
so
crazy we had 2 upsets like that, actually, in this division.
It feels like, I'm telling you, this happens a lot. Week 1, it feels like the top hitters are oftentimes the ones that are kind of stumbling.
They just need their anger point activated first before they can, before they strike in the
next
week.
That's true. It's all about that loser's bracket run.
Yeah.
That's great. Seriously, again, not the end of the world for Bananas. Like, Nihilus is really good. I'm expecting him to perform well this season. I think he has a very good shot of getting into playoffs, given just like how many new people there are, and especially taking that early win over Bananas. And Bananas, honestly, just getting 1-0'd, like, that's a very small footprint on your differential.
Yep.
That's very, that's easy to overcome, I think, in the long run. Like, I think he'll shake that off. For
sure. But, we got a couple more matches to go through here. We'll be talking about them all day. So, well, it's your turn to introduce. I introduced the last one.
Well, and let me introduce this one. We have got Liz, coach of the Sunshine State Smolivs, going up against Menma, coach of the Minnesota Jynx. Menma, having been a pretty stable player now, a couple of seasons deep into their double dip career. He's picked up a handful of good wins, and generally just like pretty solid guy. There's not really a whole lot to say. Comparatively, to Liz, who this is her first draft league game ever, and to my understanding is coming in with like very little competitive knowledge or competitive background. And looking at these drafts in comparison to each other, it's like, yeesh, man. We were talking about this during the draft analysis, but Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant and Peteran and there's so many good things.
Menma's team here is really fast looking at it. Yes, we have Noivern here, which is really fast, but like Menma's team overall is very fast, and then Prankster on top of that. Like, there's a lot of silly shenanigans that Menma could do with this team here.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I think this is very if I was going to give my personal opinion, I think this matchup is pretty lopsided in favor of Menma. I think the only thing I probably would have done differently is I don't think Morgrim was that high value. I probably would have gone Melmetal.
Yeah, but
Melmetal does a pretty decent
spreading
job.
around some paralysis could be nice. Setting up some screens for some extra hits and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just like, I worry about like the parting shot, right? Like parting shot into Annihilate is just an insta loss basically because you double proc Defiant, so it's up to +3 instantly.
Yeah.
And if you try parting shot in front of Incineroar, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So, and I see the appeal of maybe trying to, I don't know, get like a quick taunt on something like Glimora to stop it from setting up additional hazards, or maybe trying to Thunderwave something like Latias or Noivern. And obviously screens are never going to be a bad thing. I just think in general, like, Melmetal's just so bulky and matches up, I think, pretty well into most of this team that I think he probably would have performed a little better had he brought the Melmetal. But, hindsight's always going to be 20/20.
Yeah. No, that's fair, but I think without further ado, we should get into this. Well, real quick, by the way, we didn't talk about Liz that much. Liz is a brand new player, like you said, hasn't really done anything with draft before, so I'm very curious to see just how the match plays out, how we get this is the first time us seeing these new players in their matches and getting to understand them, because that's something you mentioned week ones for experienced players and returning players, but at the same time, I often find a lot of the higher level players don't do as well against brand new players. I think a lot of them... Bambi came and interrupted my recording. 1 second, I'm going to close the door.
Come on now, Bambi.
I know.
Sad. The way these dogs act. They own everything. Going bow wow and woof and all that.
Go bow wow and woof and all that. All right, but anyways, like I was saying, I think that a lot of older experienced players that we have struggle with new players because they don't know how they play. They don't know what they're going to do. So a lot of times new players do some unpredictable things because the predictable things would keep them safe, but them not doing that flips the script, to steal a line from Pheasantipity, on on the experienced
PCG
player.
Pheasantipity specifically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's hard. Like, part of the skill set when you are really established is kind of, identifying the game state and knowing what your opponent wants to do. And kind of the ever-present fear of making the wrong read when you're playing the game. Sometimes it comes down to a 50-50 or something. Or maybe you're trying to set up for what seems like the optimal move on the opponent's side. Well, against a newer player, they might not have that same insight. They might not have that same kind of mentality about the state of the game or the field or whatever, and they might do what might come across to the other side as very unpredictable actions, and that can be very hard to account for in your plan.
Yes! Sorry, everyone's messaging me now. I thought I do not serve on for a reason. Anyways, I'm excited to look into this match. I think we should watch it.
Let's give it a look.
It's in a book.
Now, we talked through this lead, me and Liz, a lot of times. Basically, Starmie leads really well into corrosive debris, or not corrosive, what the hell, toxic debris, Glimora. And so if you lead Latias, it kind of baits an Ice Beam, and then you can do the classic, agility stored power sweep. And it played out pretty much exactly as we expected it would. Obviously, Morgrim being a dark fairy is immune to both of Latias' stabs, but... very fortunate Thunderbolt paralysis there.
Yeah.
And Mem is able to break through and get one of his own.
Yeah, there's the party shot we talked about earlier, but at this point, like, Latias being set up, still doing 35 behind screens to Roaring Moon is insane, by the way.
Only +1 special attack, too. I mean, it's genuinely doing quite well. But I think Gold Labubu got a lot of mileage out of that opening turn. That sucks. That was really unfortunate, because that was also something we talked about in scrims, was like a speed boosting booster energy Valiant or Roaring Moon. Those were both slower than a Choice Scarf Noivern. Yeah. And it basically ended up being that Noivern had to be running Draco, Meteor, and also Hurricane, and oftentimes would miss one or both in scrims. And that was pretty much the worst case scenario to immediately lose.
I love the Corrosive Toxic here, by the way. or corrosion.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. Obviously, this thing is not toxic debris after all. It is running corrosive toxic so that it can toxic Pecharunt and Melmetal if it were to come.
Yeah, which is really fun, really clever. This Starmie, by the way, we do find out here is Ice Beam, Psychic, Flip Turn, and something else, but we don't see.
It's probably Rapid Spin.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming it's Rapid Spin on 4th because it does not have Surf. Otherwise, it would click it. And you notice actually that he did not really prep adequately for Mega Steelix.
Yeah, did not. Handle the next part of this. I gotta let someone to the house.
You know what? I will. Mega Steelix is just like a really good typing. You know, Menma doesn't have the resist or immunities that he needs to go up against it. And I think he identified that, you know, even something like Iron Valiant wasn't going to be able to topple it from the HP that it was at. And obviously Valiant would instantly get rolled by a Gyro Ball if it weren't able to kill off-rip. So he has to sacrifice a lot of game pieces to bring this in range for Iron Valiant. And this is another instance where, unfortunately, you know, Liz kind of gets, you know, knowledge checked here. We talked about the final Gambit Choice Scarf play because Annihilate matched up very poorly into both Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant. And we figured, you know, maybe just getting a cheeky final Gambit off would be good. And she locks into the final Gambit, but only does a little bit of damage on account of already being chipped by that Moonblast.
Yep. And because this thing doesn't have Surf, it also does not kill Incineroar here.
Starmie, had it brought Surf, would have probably won the game.
Yeah.
By itself, because it could handle Steelix and it could handle Incineroar and, you know, it could handle. I mean, it could hit everything neutral to super effective with just Ice Beam and Surf. But
yeah, in fact, actually, Ice Beam Surf is probably all Menma needed for looking at this team specifically. Obviously, we don't know the rest of Liz's team. We do, but we don't know what he was prepping for. Like, yes, Psychic hits Glimora, but Surf probably would have just done the same amount of damage to Glimora.
Well, I think I think what he did was he basically min-maxed it into specifically beating the lead Toxic Debris Glimora set and being able to handle Annihilate.
Okay, I can see that.
So being able to pivot with Flip Turn, being able to spin away any rocks or Toxic Spikes that do end up being put up by Glimora. Obviously Ice Beam as good coverage, and Psychic to hit stuff hard. Like, I see the rationale for those 4 moves, but like I said, I think he just underestimated how strong Mega Steelix was into his draft, because Liz is able to actually clinch out a win on her very first match in Double Dip Draft just by the skin of her teeth with a 1-0 victory.
Yeah, which is awesome. That's so exciting for Liz. Again, first game, first season, you won. That's so awesome. So congratulations to Liz on that. And again, a couple plays here and there that could have been slightly different, but it's just like, you know, at the end of the day, it still comes down to what did you bring with your Pokemon, and then how do you play with those, right? It's not always... I lost my train of thought. Never mind. Ignore me.
Well, it's just those knowledge checks, right? Like,
yes.
It's, you know, new players don't have the just encyclopedic, like, oh, I know everything about everything. Like, I'm assuming that, you know, Liz either didn't identify the booster energy speed or thought that Final Gambit did the totality of your HP in damage instead of just your current HP.
Yeah.
But in either case, you know, something went wrong there that Final Gambit ended up not being the correct button, but she hit it anyway, and that's just something that comes with experience, right? Knowing how Annihilate and Final Gambit and just, you know, the dynamics of all these specific things work. And week 1, you're probably not going to have all of that knowledge of your own draft quite yet. So
yeah, that is just Pokemon. Like, you know, I'm pretty familiar with Pokemon. You know, I would like to think I am. I've been doing these drafts with you for a while. We worked on some other projects together with Pokemon stuff, but like, Enamorus is never something that comes to mind as a Pokemon. Ever. I never think about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that's just like weird, you know. Gen 9 has a lot of weird guys. So does Gen 8. You know, Hisui had a lot of weird guys. That's Enamorus. Like, you know, Pecharunt is weird. I mean, I would say Menma's draft has a lot of weird sickos on it. You know, Melmetal and Valiant and Roaring Moon and Pecharunt are all, and Enamorus are all just like really weird Pokemon.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're coming in without that, again, competitive background specifically are maybe a little more difficult.
Yeah, you don't know what they do. You're like, what's Enamorus? What does that
Yeah.
do? You don't know.
So very well done from Liz. I mean,
Yes.
seriously, that, she held it together. It's very easy to choke those away, especially after missing that Draco Meteor. That she was working from the back foot there, but it just ended up being that, she had the right pieces, Menma had the wrong pieces, and she was able to keep her head above water just long enough to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we do have one final match to go over for the Rocket Division, and then we can blast off at the speed of light to get food.
Yeah, why don't you introduce it to me?
Of course, we have ASCII of the Philadelphia Phantumps, and we also have Goober Trooper of the Bidwell Bees, who's also
ASCII.
a brand new player, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say ASCII only on, I believe, his second season. Goober on his very first, and there were some blunders. Just to get ahead of this, to cut it off at the pass here. Goober sent a challenge and brought the wrong team, and then was forced to resend the challenge. And we let it go because it's week one. He's a new player. Obviously, there's nothing insidious going on there. But just to elaborate on why we don't allow that. You might have, let's say, multiple different versions of your team that are optimized for different anticipated Pokemon that your opponent might bring. So if you get to see even just the 6 that they bring and nothing else about them, you might have a better team and say, oh, shoot, there's a Lucario there. I didn't, this isn't my Lucario team. So if you get to rematch, then who's to say you pick your Lucario team? There's no way that we would know if the 6 Pokemon don't change. So, that's why we're so strict with that. That keeping in line with our sort of, no backseating, you don't want an unfair advantage.
Yeah, it just keeps things as fair as we can keep it, with you guys just being honorable to one another when you set up your matches with someone. You don't want to just cheat your way to victory, do you? That's not fun.
Certainly not.
That's not how you get a Dippy.
So
there's no cheating Dippy award.
No cheating Dippy. So that's the kind of thing that if we had an IDM do that would be some serious repercussions. If this happened on a later week, there would be just a forfeit issued for that. But given that it's a new player week one, an honest mistake, it's not a big deal. But definitely, if you're listening to this recap, just take note that bring the right team, because when you start, you play until you're done. That is how it's supposed to go.
Yep.
Conversely, ASCII also blunders this by bringing Hidden Power, which is banned.
Yeah.
So, didn't end up making a huge difference, as we are going to explore in this recap, but just to head both of those things off at the pass, this was a sloppy week one match.
Mm-hmm. But we do have a little bit of sun over here. We do have a little bit of electric terrain. I remember we had talked about that in the draft analysis of ASCII's team. And, those are fun little cores. I certainly see Kingdra here, and there's sun, so that's there. I know it does get Weather Ball, as other things, does. But, it's here.
Honestly, because it gets Ice Beam and Weather Ball, and between Ice Beam and Weather Ball, you don't necessarily need Surf or Water Stab into the team.
True.
I mean, it's nice for Arcanine specifically, but in general, you can live without it. I don't hate it as a bring here, and in general, I think that ASCII can abuse his little mini cores, because Goober's got what looks to be a very, very fast, very hard-hitting sort of, maybe not hyper offense team, but something kind of resembling that. So as long as ASCII, he's got stuff like Kingdra that is kind of hard to hit super effectively, Cottony to put up some screens, stuff some fast stuff with a priority Stun Spore, and obviously you've got just powerhouses in Tapu Koko and Mega Charizard Y, and of course Volcarona.
But did you see the powerhouses on Goober Trooper's team as well? Lando T is here. You have Mega Beedrill here. Arcanine Hisui is also here.
It's easier to name the things on Goober's team that aren't threads. He's Mega Beedrill and Landorus Incarnate both do so much damage. It can get so fast and just so set up so quickly that they're terrifying. Hisui and Arcanine, like we say, very strong on both offense and defense. Same is true for Magnezone. Brute Bonnet being able to Spore and Sucker Punch and hit some very nasty Bullet Seeds, and also being able to defensively Terra out of its bad typing. And hey, let's not forget the birdie in the room that's just 1 agility away from being +2 speed, +1 special attack, and clicking a move that can flinch you and never misses.
Yeah, which is incredible. So I think the only thing we could do at this point is just watch the last match of Rocket Division. Arcanine Hisui lead with a Tapu Koko lead, which makes sense. Electric Surge is generally what you want to get out right away.
And this is a pretty reliable lead, I think, on Goober's end, too. Like we say, Hisui and Arcanine is just like, it's a really solid draft Pokemon for that reason.
Lucario Hidden Power
There's
Water.
the fraudulent Hidden Power.
I'm surprised a fighting move didn't come out of that. Close Combat, I feel like, could have done quite a bit, too.
Well, I think it was Hidden Power Water.
Yeah.
So it would have done less because it's more physically defensive and obviously, doesn't quad. It's not quad weak. This Bullet Seed also does so much.
That's insane. Look at that Bullet Seed. Terra Water is so good as well.
Yeah, Brute Bonnet generally. Just tell you one, man. I had Bonnet last season. I love Brute Bonnet.
Oh, that Sucker Punch just nearly killing. That thing's incredible. This thing comes in, though, and just knocks off. And Mega Beedrill with 145 physical attack and 150 speed, is it? Or do I have that backwards? 145
it's like
speed?
145 speed, I think, or something like that.
It might be 145 speed, 150 attack. It's one or the other.
It's just fast and strong. It's just min-max to hell. It will fall over if you sneeze on it, but it will just outrun in one shot a lot of stuff, especially when you've got those rocks up early.
Yeah.
In general, yeah. And I mean, Askey, to his credit, playing to his outs here, that priority stun spore we mentioned earlier, in addition to a Life Orb Weather Ball.
Yeah. Very nice.
And there's that Ice Beam coverage.
There's Berserk.
But again, like we say, it just, Goober loses one, he's got 3 more in the back that are just as scary.
Yeah. Because at this point, Askey cannot really do too much against what's left here, especially the Magnezone, and obviously this thing comes in with Air Slash, which is interesting, not Fiery Wrath. But either way, Goober takes the win here. Couple blunders on both parts, but a solid match overall.
The thing is, there's nothing that happened here that I would consider an outright blunder besides just the straight up cheating that is using Hidden Power. But yeah, like there's, again, these little knowledge checks, like Goober clicking Air Slash instead of Fiery Wrath when neither is resisted, but Air Slash has a chance to miss. Like, that's just an unnecessary 5% chance that you lose this thing, or risk getting frozen by the next Ice Beam if it doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to agility there. I mean, you can just hit Fiery Wrath and kill it, especially seeing that it's got a Life Orb. Even if somehow it doesn't die to your +1 Fiery Wrath, it will just be very close to killing itself on Life Orb damage. So again, just those little interactions that are like, you just have to be playing long enough to see it.
Yeah, but it makes me excited with these new players, though, as they keep playing, as we go through the season, the things that they're going to pick up and the things they're going to learn and how they learn with their team. Getting a new team every season, you have a very different team last season. My team's very different than last season when I played. And you start to pick up your interactions with the Pokemon to Pokemon basis.
You get used to it, especially when you play with the same, like, 1 or 2 Pokemon a lot. Like, you have Vaporeon, I'm sure you can do these head calcs at this point. You can kind of expect, even before you go to the calculator, okay, how much damage am I going to take from, I don't know, Clodsire Earth Power? How much damage should I expect to take from
Chi-Yu?
Chi-Yu Dark Pulse. So, you kind of get a feel for Pokemon when you use them long enough, and you know what to do and what to click, and how the damage calcs shake out. And again, new players who are especially piloting new teams, and even experienced players who are using unfamiliar Pokemon out of metas that maybe they don't usually play, like out of NU, RU, Nat Dex, whatever. Experience is a huge benefit to have. So there's definitely strength in just being around, having played for a long time, and drafting more reliable. Yeah. But that is our 4 matches out of Rocket for the week.
Go.
And frankly, may I just say, the evils of truth and love have been fully denounced by this round 1 standings. I think I'd like to read the top 4 if you'd like to take the bottom.
Certainly.
Well, I will start with the uncontested first place out of the division as of week 1. We've got Black Captain of the Martian Mantines at a 1-0 +4. Second place, also uncontested, we have Goober of the Bidwell Bees at a 1-0 +3, and then a tie for 3rd and 4th between Liz and Nihilus of the Sunshine State Smolivs and Dallas Duckletts, respectively, both sitting at a 1-0 +1.
Moving on, we have Menma, the Minnesota Jynx, at an 0-1 -1, and Bananas at an 0-1 -1, both tied for that technically 4th place, I guess, if you want to call it that. We have Philadelphia Phantumps ASCII at a 0-1 -3, and Hoensbroek Hunters Aurora in the bottom of the bracket here, division here, 0-1 -4. And one of the things looking at this compared to kind of the other divisions we have, this one feels in some ways a little closer or more opportunity, I suppose, for growth. With the 4 people, 2 of them at 1, 2 of them at -1, that can shake up any way, any shape or form during the season, right? Because those are so close to that net zero.
It feels like every season there's always like one division that's the most interesting to watch, and already seeing how these players are interacting with each other, how the scores are shaking out, seeing the upsets that we already have as of week 1. With all due respect to my friends who I love very much, the Bidwell Bees and the Sunshine State Smolivs were not expected to be on the top end of that board, and frankly, neither were the Martian Mantines and the Dallas Duckletts. Like, I think all 4 of these matches were technically upsets by seed, and that's crazy. I mean, we're living in bizarro world where up is down and down is up, and if things kept shaking out this way, which again I don't really expect them to, on behalf of people like Aurora. I mean, very rare to see Aurora at the bottom of the leaderboard. So I think this will be a very contentious, very even, very exciting division to watch, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely think you're right. I think Rocket will probably one of the divisions to watch. Obviously, you can watch all the divisions. If you missed the recaps for Aqua, Magma, and Skull, then please go check those out. Genuinely, looking at these scores, and we're not going to say them here, they're not on screen, but Skull, I think, actually has some crazy diff going on right now. And that's one to go watch and check out. I personally feel like.
Yeah. Definitely check out Skull if you want to see me play. Check out Magma if you want to hear me talk. And check out Aqua if you want to hear Cabral talk.
Yeah, I play in Magma if you want to watch that for that reason. You can do that too.
Oh, true. Yeah, Magma, how about that? Magma is if you want to hear me cover his match.
And Skull is if you want to hear... no, actually, you're going to hear Aurora, I think, right?
It's Aurora and Nick, right?
It is Aurora and Nick. Yeah, no, I cover Aqua, so I'm Aqua Magma.
Yeah, because Aurora and Nick keep going,
Skull.
Every time. So that's how you remember. So yeah, definitely check out the companion videos. Thank you very much for checking this one out. If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off. Thank you for watching Week 1 recap of the Rocket Division, and we are looking very much forward to seeing you next week. You're not going to want to miss it.
Bye-bye.